Welcome in to the latest episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast, presented by the Betting the Pitch Podcast Network. I'm your host, the real underscore G Warner. I'm joined by at Big East Ben. His hair keeps growing vertically. Maybe that's also a feature of newfound monogamy.
You can't coach height, but you can mask it with your hair.
Yes. Also, I guess I should probably take some tips because in this land of the Amazons in Dallas, Texas, where every woman seems to be 6 feet tall, I do feel like that's impacting my social life or my dating life a little bit. But I tried to buy some like stilts in my sneakers. I don't think that worked very well. So we'll see from here. But what has been working very well is we've been hot. The Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast is rolling, and we are going to go through a litany of games for this final Saturday of the college basketball regular season. We will release our ideas for next week and what we're going to record on Monday night, as we're doing 2 podcasts a week now. If you're not subscribed, do that on YouTube, on my account channel at the real underscore G Warner. If you're not giving us a 5-star review, why are you waiting for it? Do it on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, or of course, you can always subscribe on YouTube, as I just said. So we're going to go through. We'll do best bets end of show, try to keep that rolling. And then, it's a pretty big weekend for college basketball. Everyone's trying to build resumes. We don't have, I guess we do have one bubble matchup, maybe 2, maybe 3 that we're going to discuss today. But we'll start with the granddaddy of them all. I guess, was that a Brent Musburger line or a Tom Jackson? Or not Tom Jackson, that's a different guy. Anyway, the guy that was slobbering over AJ McCarron's girlfriend.
The Rose Bowl.
Yeah, okay. Granddaddy of the Rose Bowl. But like, who was the broadcaster that was doing that way back? Okay, we'll think about
That was
it.
Musburger. Musburger was slobbering
Oh yeah,
over
sorry.
Catherine Webb.
Musburger was definitely slobbering, but there's some. I'll look it up in the meantime. UNC at Duke is our first game, which is the biggest one, which we probably should have done last. But we'll start where it's hot, and then hope that everyone sticks around and keeps listening. I have Duke a 4.5-point favorite at BetOnline. If you're not a member there, at BetOnline or Sportsbetting.ag, now is the time to do it. There are links in the podcast descriptions that will get you free money at either of those sites. They open numbers. I was betting openers today. It's going to be even more of that coming forward with conference tournaments and the multiple matchups that get thrown out there. It's really, in my humble opinion, it's very useful to have early numbers to hit, because you won't, some of the numbers you see there you won't see again, and some plays you made will turn in from wins to losses by waiting. So make sure you jump on either of those, BetOnline or Sportsbet.ag, because they're basically the same site. But Sportsbetting.ag has a bigger price tag, 100% match up to $500. So we'll start with Duke, North Carolina. This number, I think UNC a 4-point underdog on the road at Duke. It's now up to 4.5, so not a ton of movement. Totals climbed from 149.5 points to 150. What do you think about this one, Ben?
So Duke's been looking good lately. Kyle Filipowski has been playing miraculously well on his one good leg after his other leg was trampled and amputated in Salem Winston the other weekend.
Salem Winston, keep it going. I love it.
Yeah, Salem Winston.
May I ask, did you hear they executed the fan that ran into him?
Yeah, Jay Billis just put his head in a guillotine, yanked the rope, boom, done.
I thought Jay Billis was doing the Utah style, like you like stone him to death, or I'll shoot him with shotguns. But anyway, go ahead.
That's Utah?
I think Utah still has that as an option if you're going to be put to death.
Penalty?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Anyway,
all right.
Anyway, you're close. You're close. You're not too far. Firing squad, baby.
Man, I was plotting to
don't say it. Don't say it. Don't say it.
I was plotting to murder Steve Wojciechowski at some point, so I better wait till he leaves the state.
Oh my
god. So yeah, Duke's been rolling. Carolina's been rolling as well, although not to the same degree as Duke. This matchup earlier in Chapel Hill, final score was 93-84. Both teams shot incredibly well in the paint. Duke was 60%. North Carolina was 57% on 2-point field goals. Duke won the game with North Carolina won their game with their 3-point shooting, despite an off night from RJ Davis. He was 3 for 11. Duke, Armando Baycott, and Kyle Filipowski could not stop one another. I think they both shot like over 80% inside. Their games are too good for one another. So listen, I did a little looking back at the history of this match in Cameron. So if
Mm.
we look at the past four matchups, 89-76, 91-87, 94-81, and last year 62-57. But both teams sucked. So I expected this over 100 to open a lot higher. Um, Judging by what happened last time in Chapel Hill, that score, despite Duke not shooting well from 3-point land, they shoot a lot better at home. I'm going to go with the over on this one. If I had to pick a team, I'd probably lean Duke. But, given that these teams are too evenly matched, you get the chance of overtime. I think the over is a sure thing in this one.
I love the use of sure thing. So you don't think that Kyle Filipowski and Armando Baycott are suddenly going to change their NBA draft profiles and suddenly learn how to defend within the last month of not seeing each other?
I do not.
Okay. I just want to make sure because to me, I would think if you were coaching this game, you were saying, we're not going to I want to say Duke, one of them shot 60% from two in the game, which is like horrible. And I like not a player, I'm talking about an entire team, like despicable. And honestly, I think that was, let's see, who was it? It was yeah, so it was Duke that shot 30 for 50 from two on the road at North Carolina. That tells me that this vaunted Carolina defense that everyone's going to talk about and put really far in their brackets, not really a buyer, I gotta say. And all those huge wins that UNC and Duke have had in the ACC, still looking for just one. So
I mean, look at the numbers from McCade and Roach: 7-12 on twos, 7-11 on twos. Carolina only turned the ball over 5 times, so these aren't breakaway layups. Like they are just getting whatever they want in the half court.
I like the over. I don't, since I'm not really a totals player, I've learned the hard way of that in the past. I mean, maybe this is one of those games where it's a rock fight and they really struggle to defend or to score and they defend really well. I just don't see it either. So over makes sense. Um, Actually, you know what? Let's both go over. Let's do a little
Woo!
couple. Let's do it. Over 150 and a half at recording. So let's go ahead and get that done. We'll move next to another big rivalry game. I mean, of course, I think that's what's, I guess, the last weekend of the season. You could put all the best matchups then. So it should be a good weekend, especially since the weather here in Dallas has not been very nice. But we'll start with Tennessee. They opened an 8-point favorite down to 7.5 right now, total 166.5 points down from 167.
I don't think the Wildcats are getting enough respect in this one. I mean, they've been absolutely rolling on offense, NBA, NBA team style, um, looking like an NBA team. 117, 91, 111, 93. Those are the last four games. That is insane. I mean, 10 years ago in college basketball, you didn't see any team sniff those totals.
Mm.
Um, Dillingham is amazing. Shepard, I saw Shepard is now like a top 6 pick, Reed Shepard in mock drafts, which is crazy. So I mean, Tennessee's been amazing. We all love Dalton Connect.
He
Ziegler's been
was
playing
so good against South Carolina. So good.
so good.
Auburn
Uh,
too, I guess. I mean, where wasn't he? So go ahead.
yeah, that was a tough break for you on that those free throws and then the split second
The
too
dunk
short
after the
was
buzzer. I
bad.
thought they weren't even going to review it. I thought the SEC refs were, I guess they're not SEC refs, just the refs in general, because they're all independent contractors. I thought they were going to just run off to their hotel room or whatever steakhouse they're going to that night. But apparently they did review it. It was said on the broadcast. But yeah, I mean, if Tennessee's going to make 7 out of 8 free throws down the stretch with 1-and-1s included, I think for 6 of those, I mean, they're going to cover a ton of spreads, anything below 9 points, really. So that brings us into this game where that number seems to be a little bit relevant as we speak about it. I mean, there definitely were some nines out there. I just don't necessarily know if I mean, I'll let you finish your thought on Kentucky and then I'll give you mine.
I saw 8.5 earlier in the day. I just think that's too many points for a Kentucky team that's already proven their mettle on the road going into the jungle where no one thought anybody could win and absolutely spanking Auburn. I think Calipari is able to get his guys ready and focus. And I mean, you're not gonna the market could never be higher on Tennessee than it is now after that Alabama and South Carolina performance.
Yeah, I was trying to get a little bit of, I mean, I thought South Carolina's win at Tennessee was deserved. I thought it was because they were very good at defending Tennessee inside. But they were hanging on for dear life for a lot of that game, despite it being at home. So I guess of all covers in the world, of course, I want them all, but maybe that was not completely deserved. I think because we didn't have a Tennessee at Auburn game this year, I don't think, which I think we got really screwed on not having that one. But they did have a great game at home in Knoxville. I'm still not really sure what this Kentucky team is. I do think they're a lot better now than they were earlier in the season, which is how Kentucky teams, especially the young ones, go for Coach Cal. I saw 9.5 at open, dropped to 9, and now we're down to 7.5. So clearly some money has come in on Tennessee. Did you make your pick on this one?
I like Kentucky. I'll take it at 7.5. I'd like 8.5 though, so maybe I'll wait a little bit longer.
Okay. I'll go over 166.5.
All right,
So
Mr.
I'm just
Totals.
I'm just a totals guy now, all of a sudden. Next we'll
I
move.
like I love the over too. I just don't want to do two overs.
Well, I mean, I think I might just be overs and home teams now. And forever in the past. I mean, my former self is going to be very upset because I was only unders and underdogs, which I guess is my soccer lifestyle. Ask Joe Dollar about that. But we'll move now to Connecticut visiting Providence. Big game for Providence to try to get in the NCAA tournament discussion. I guess they're in the discussion already. But Open Connecticut, a 9.5 point favorite. That number has climbed to 10, which actually this number was way higher earlier. So just to speak to Bet Online and Sportsbetting.ag, if you're not a member there yet, you could have had Providence plus 12 at open, by the way. Dropped all the way to 9.5, back to 10, to where we currently sit. Total at 140.5 points. What do we think about potentially Providence? I mean, it's probably the biggest rivalry game Providence used to have with like Boston College, but that died when BC fled the ACC to come in last place every year. And it's always been a big, ever since the Ryan Gomes recruiting, and I'm sure you can go on a YouTube rabbit hole if you want to hear Jim Calhoun talking about that. But this is a huge game for Providence. If they can win this game, I think they're in the tournament.
For sure.
If they don't win this game, I think they're still alive, but it's gonna take some wins in that Big East tournament.
UConn is so good, dude. Like it's so annoying. They're incredible. God, I haven't hated a college basketball player in like many, many years.
Cam Spencer?
Since Cam Spencer. God, that guy sucks.
What? Sucks? Or he's awesome and we just hate
He's
him
awesome.
on our team?
He's a prick. Like he's such a douche. Like when
He's
he's
doing it
playing
at Rutgers. He was doing that at Rutgers last year, by the way.
when he's playing in the Middle East next year, I hope
No.
there's a
Okay,
dormant land. I
Okay.
hope he steps on a landmine or some rocket makes his way in his hotel room. Like, God, I hate that kid. But they're unbelievable. He's unbelievable. He's so good, dude. Like they move
What
the
a
ball.
turn. What a turn. I hope he steps on a landmine. God, he's unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean Marquette was like totally overmatched, even with Oso, obviously. Did you watch the game?
I did not.
Did you see Dan Hurley's like press conference?
I did not. Let enlighten us. I figured we get to a Marquette section,
So
but
so Cam Spencer, about 8 minutes left in the game, hits a three and just starts yelling at Shaka in the bench and gets like a technical foul. And then
they're very sensitive about that right now, by the way. I feel like every game I bet has a technical from yelling at the bench.
And then in the huddle, they do the mic'd up huddle, and Hurley's like scolding him, like, you don't do that to them. Like, it's about us. Like, don't do that to them. UConn actually ended up scoring like 2 points the rest of the game. Marquette just couldn't hit a bucket. They cut it to 5, but they couldn't hit a bucket. And then after the game, Hurley's like, yeah, like I told him like he can shit talk other fan bases. Like I'm okay with that, but like not Marquette. Like I have too much respect for them. Blah blah blah. And everyone's like, oh, Dan Hurley, what a class act. Like what a good guy. It's like, have you guys ever read Sun Tzu, The Art of War? keep your friends close and keep your enemies closer. Like that's exactly what he's doing, you dummies. Like he's a he's a mobster. He's a New Jersey mobster. Anyway, back to the game. Speaking of mobsters, Providence. Um,
Whoa. I might have had a couple dinners in Capriccio, which I think there was a mafia shooting way back in the
you're a
day.
maid, man. You're good.
Yeah, a lot of Irish
With that
gangsters
red
in
hair.
Providence. Yeah, I fit in very well. I'm Northern Italian.
So this game, this game, they played each other at Gamble. I didn't watch it, but I remember hearing the
I
quotes about
watched it. It was the longest game. I think they
what a
were like
rock.
already. I think they were halfway into this next game on Fox because like it was such a long game with so many fouls.
So this box score is absolutely hilarious. Providence went 4 of 18 from three. UConn went 4 of 23. You had three guys foul out. Uh, four more players with four fouls. This was the game where that Luke Fonts kid for Providence got in at the end, and everyone's like, "Why is the team manager playing?" Um,
Because everyone fouled out. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Um, hey man, this is gonna be like if you think the dunk has been a powder keg before, I mean this place is going to be nuts. I think it's going to be more nuts than when Cooley came back. Providence needs this. I mean, it's senior night. You got is well Carter's a junior, but he's going pro next year. So that's
Yeah.
that'll be the last time you
It
see
probably
him.
will be senior night for him. His mom will probably be there or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, I don't like Oduro played really good D on Klingon, limited only 5 shots, 3 of 5 shooting. If Providence, if divine providence is going to happen, and
Ooh, ooh,
dunk magic, like this is the
ooh.
game, and it's 9.5 points. I got to go with the Friars here.
Yeah. Actually giving you 10. So let's
10.
let's go. I mean,
I might sprinkle some on the money line.
this is a spot where at home, huge underdog. I mean, it's asking a lot, and the
Big
price
East,
is certainly right.
UConn's already wrapped up the Big East regular season title. Like they got nothing to play for.
Just a no-show. Just call it in.
Yeah.
Cool. I like it. We'll move next to another big, basically all big games in this episode. Not too many that are fighting for tournament bids, I guess, at this point, but in the program. But Kansas visits Houston for the potential revenge factor of the millennium, which Kansas murdered Houston. Everyone in the world was back in Houston, a 1.5 point favorite at the Fog. That went predictably well for all of gambling Twitter, college basketball gambling Twitter. But we have current number KU an 8 point underdog on the road at Houston, total 137 points.
Yeah. So Kansas has been so since the return of McCullough. Lost to Baylor on the road, and then beat the crap out of Kansas State.
Who's not,
Uh,
who isn't at this point?
yeah, and then Jerome Tang did a Bill Self. Jesus Christ, dude, that guy can't get out of his own way. How he talked about Jerome Tang not having any interest in shaking his hand, and then they showed the game. He showed after the game the game in Manhattan when Kansas State beat him, and Bill Self just zipped right by Tang. Yeah, like moron. I can't stand that guy. We all
Hey,
know.
he's had the most losses in his Big 12 season ever this year. He's
Yeah.
probably really salty about it.
So I like you said, Houston a revenge spot. They're home at the I'm gonna mispronounce it Fertitta Center.
Fertitta
Fertitta.
Tillman, yes,
Yeah,
gambler of like one of us.
where they
One of
one
us.
of
That
us.
cheap as fuck. Fuck him. Go ahead.
Shout out Serge from business school. He went to a big Fertitta wedding, and they had Bruno Mars perform for cost $1 million just for the
Wow. I think I'm gonna call him frittata like a pastry from now on, just like you just did.
Yeah. So they're playing at the Fertitta Center where they're allowed to, get away with murder on defense.
Yes, they are.
Beat the crap out of opponents. So you got to think like, does a guy like Bill Self in a Kansas program walking in there like get respect? I don't think like Self's already got like tossed this year. I forget what game it was.
Texas Tech when they were losing when they lost by 29.
Yeah.
It was over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, um, given that Houston's a revenge spot, given that this is a really down year for Kansas, like they're nothing outside their big three. Uh, Johnny Furphy shows up at home, not on the road. Nick Timberlake's been pretty useless all season. I like Houston covering the number here.
I had a vision a second ago, as you mentioned that, of Johnny Furphy just getting eaten up by the Houston front line, like literally chewed up and spit out because he's some whatever fucking koala from Australia that they keep talking about on all the ESPN broadcasts and stuff like that. And there was actually there was an entire TV timeout at the Fog that was like, here's the story about Johnny Furphy from Melbourne and all this other stuff. And literally it lasted the entire time. And I was like, oh my God, where's the El Marco one? But he sucks. So that's why they don't have one for him, I guess. I'm going to also lay the points with Houston. I think this is a murder scene. And fun fact, one Cam Spencer, do you know where he would have been if Kansas didn't grab Timberlake instead?
Kansas.
He was going to go to Kansas, but apparently UConn really wanted Timberlake, and Cam Spencer was like a late addition.
Did you know his brother's like one of the greatest lacrosse players ever?
I think Cam Spencer is a lacrosse player as well. I think that's what delayed his coming into college basketball. I guess he still has a million years of eligibility because of COVID or something like
Yeah.
that. But it's amazing all around. We move next to Baylor visiting Texas Tech. This is an interesting one. Potentially, I don't know if Texas Tech has drifted out of the NCAA tournament picture, but I'm a little concerned about them at this point. This number's been all over the place. I will say it opened Baylor a 1 point favorite, got to -2. Then we're all the way back to Texas Tech, a 2 point favorite. Total's 147 and a half right now. What do you got on this one?
Do we know if Warren Washington's going to play?
That's my biggest question. And so my Warren Washington take, I'll make it brief, is he came back for one of the games and left early, which I'll tell you which one that was because I bet the other team. I think that was the UCF game on the road that Texas Tech lost. He had missed the previous 3 games, came back for that one, looked like he re-injured his foot. Or if it was a foot injury or a back injury, I'm not sure what it was initially, but definitely I think it was right foot was a problem and like looked like he went to the bench, came back out, tried to play a little bit longer and got substituted right away. That's never a good sign, especially when one of the wheels on a 7-footer isn't working. I feel like it's a little bit different for the Johnny Furphys of the world or even the me's of the world, but not when you're 7 feet tall and you only have 2 of those little things to walk around on.
If he's not playing, I mean, Misi's going to eat inside. Um, and then, I mean, you got the guard play with Dennis and Jacoby Walter. Baylor's been absolutely rolling. 3 in a row, beating TCU, Kansas, and Texas. That was a tough one for your guys. I thought they were going to pull that one out.
I mean,
Amos could not miss.
what a great start for Texas. The Baylor defense to me is like it's trash. I've been on that side of the boat this whole season. I don't know why they play this zone. Like it's nonsensical. Kansas was literally getting anything they wanted at the rim, and that's why it was even a close game for as long as it was. So 3 straight that Warren Washington has not played. 5 out of 6, and looks like 6 out of 9. So I can't imagine he's in there. And though the move to Texas Tech being a favorite, I mean, I'm respectful of these early moves that are clearly some marketplace is taking a position that Texas Tech wins this game. And I think based on how great home teams have done this season was the way I would lean. And I'll lay the 2 with Texas Tech right now. But I don't know if I'm comfortable enough to play it. I feel like there's been a lot of cheap home favorites lately that was I think hitting at an incredible clip over the first, I don't know, 99% of the season. But the last couple of weeks, it has not been so easy to make a bunch of money.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary to bet against Tech at United Supermarkets Arena on senior night. But I'm doing it. I like Bell on this one. They've proved it, a couple times on the road. I was really impressed by that win over TCU. I thought they really picked it up on the defensive end. Bears are rolling. I like them -1.5 or -2.
So Baylor's getting 2 points now, by the way. Underdog, 2 point.
That flipped.
Yes, that's
Like it even more.
I guess you weren't listening to what I literally just tried to describe. Okay. So before we get to best bets, thank you all for tuning in. This is the last episode of the regular season, but it's not the last episode of the year. Come on now. We got conference tournaments coming up. We're going to record Monday night as we've been doing most recently, I think ever since March began. And the idea is that we're going to go through a bunch of the conference tournaments. Big East Ben, of course, we'll be doing Big East. Also Mountain West Ben, we'll be doing Mountain West. I don't know if you've logged and grabbed that Twitter account yet, but yeah, I think you're gonna try to do an MW, but clearly you weren't in any sort of gang ever growing up in North Shore of Boston or something like that. With that said, that'll come Monday night. I'll probably do another episode on Patreon of whatever conferences we don't cover that are big tournaments getting started on Tuesday going forward. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com. So that's the real underscore G Warner. We didn't have any new updates, 5-star reviews that Ben can work on his interpretive dance for. But would love to get some of those coming in. It certainly would help us to get us higher up the search rankings for March, as we're planning to keep this going until the end of the season, including a final episode at the Final Four on the floor of Glendale Arena. Don't know how we're going to work that out, but that is, I think we'll figure it out in crunch time is my expectation. If you're not a follower yet on Twitter, Patreon, Instagram, you can find me at the real underscore G Warner. You can find Big East Ben at Big East Ben, as you would expect it to be spelled. Already mentioned going through the promo codes and all that sort of stuff, but our best bets today are sponsored by shotqualitybets.com. Use the promo code GW and you get 10% off, a new data source in case you're looking for maybe you want to do some data mining to try to find that Loyola Chicago from years and years and years ago that our guy, Dr. Fish, I don't know where he got his doctorate from, but he was really high on Loyola way back when. I think took them in some sort of Calcutta and made a shitload of money. So use that, shotqualitybets.com. Use the promo code GW. You save some money. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but you save some money on your first month or something like that. And it's March. You don't need it for another month. Your brackets will be done in 2 weeks from now. So go throw that in there, sign up for a month, and we'll get some credit for you using it. So at Big East Ben, it's up to you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so we've been red hot on these best bets. I think we've each won our last 3 or 4.
I think you are one ahead of me in that recent. I think we're 7-1 last 8, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, we were 7-1 last week.
Entering in that last episode. Okay.
Yeah, but best bets wise, I think we've each won 3 or 4 straight. Best bet, my guys, Marquette visiting Xavier, no Tyler Kolek, getting no respect, only a 2.5-point favorite. This team without Kolek and Oso Ighodaro went on the road to Omaha, Nebraska against a very good Creighton team and a very hostile environment. And it was a 2-point game with 4 minutes left without their 2 best players. UConn didn't go great, but they didn't lose by 28 points. That was Oso played in that one. No Kolek. They actually kind of made a game at the end because UConn kind of fell asleep. But listen, they've now had 2 games under their belt to adjust without Kolek. I've liked what I saw from the other guys. Cam Jones has really stepped up. Ben Gold has really stepped up. I really like to play the 2 freshmen, Trey Norman and Zayd Lowry, in the additional minutes. I think this Kolek this injury will pay dividends over the next couple of years. But 2.5 points, really? Against this trash Xavier team?
1.5 now. 1.5.
1.5? Oh, great. Xavier has beaten one team since the start of February, not named DePaul or Georgetown. They are thin. They are streaky. I think Sean Miller hates all his players.
Guaranteed.
Yes, they were playing well in the Cintas Center, but that's kind of dissipated. Marquette's not going to lose 3 in a row at the end of the season. Shaka won't let it happen. Give me the Golden Eagles, best bet.
So this is the real underscore G Warner. This is the Need for Seeds College Basketball Podcast hosted by the Bet and Pitch Podcast Network. If you're not a member of my Patreon, check it out, patreon.com/real underscore G Warner. You just heard at Big East Ben, he gave out his best bet for this Saturday episode. We've been rolling, so stay with us. I'll figure out a way to post what our records have been. I don't have them on hand. Great podcast hosting, my bad. But anyway, he just gave you Marquette a 1.5 point favorite on the road at Xavier. For my best bet, I'm going to go with the Ole Miss Rebels. They're fighting their way to try to find a way into the NCAA tournament. Currently, Ole Miss a 1.5 point favorite at home to Texas A&M. This is going to be an ugly game. Texas A&M, they're probably one of the ugliest teams in all of college basketball. Have a great coach, but that's split some opinions on this podcast, the Need for Seeds College Basketball podcast, for years and years. But grab Big East Ben's Marquette -1.5, and my Texas A&M, or excuse me, my Ole Miss -1.5 at home against Texas A&M for this weekend. And that'll do it for this episode of the Need for Seeds College Basketball podcast. Thank you for tuning in and giving us 3 minutes or so. We'll be back Monday night going through some conference tournaments that are getting started next week. Big East, Mountain West. If you have any requests, exact things you want us to cover, feel free to go into the comments within Apple Podcast, Spotify, or on YouTube. Leave a comment, leave a 5-star review, subscribe, do something like that. It'd be huge for us in the search rankings, plus give us an idea of what you'd like us to cover. We are here for you. We are here to talk as much as we can and laugh about Ben threatening former Marquette basketball coaches, but also to try to do as much as we can to get you what you want to learn and what you want to know and get our takes on what we got so you can make as much money as possible on this game that we love. At Big East Ben, do you have anything you'd like to share? Maybe an apology for Steve Wojciechowski?
I'm not afraid of no stones.
All right. Or firing squads. Sounds good. That'll do it for this episode, and we will talk to you all Monday night.